Wanted to give a quick overview of the Leica T menu system since it is so different and somewhat revolutionary. Very different than what you'd see in an ordinary typical camera. So wanted to just jump in here. What you see when you turn the camera on, you actually see this is a live view image here, just looking off my balcony, and you can see some basic information: f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, exposure compensation, whether it's autofocus or manual, metering mode, white balance, battery status. Down at the bottom we can see that there's video image stabilization that we're set to DNG and JPEG Superfine, 16 megapixel. Wi-Fi is actually enabled and turned on, and there is 27 pictures left on my SD memory card. On the right hand side you'll see my shooting mode, what's called the My Camera menu, and the info toggle. If I hit the info, you'll notice there's a little dot above here, and hit it once, you'll see I have grid lines. Hit it again, you'll see I have a live histogram up here in the corner. Hit it again, and I have a nice unobscured clear view. This is actually how I shoot most of the time, combined with the info display. If I go into the shooting modes, you'll see here A for aperture priority. I tap that once and you'll see I've got program, aperture priority, shutter priority, manual, and scene modes. Most of these, if I just give it a single press, you'll see now P for program mode. Scene mode has a few more selections. We have some different scene modes here which I can select, and again they just show there. I'm going to change this back to my standard of aperture priority and run through the My Camera menu. By hitting the My Camera menu, you'll see that it actually illuminates red, so we're actually in that menu now. And we can see here that I've got ISO, white balance, exposure compensation, flash mode, ISO settings. This is all customizable. It actually starts out with a default of 9, and if you have an object in here that you just don't need, you can select it like this, drag it at the trash can, and now the menu is cleaner. In fact, I could take out whatever I want. Let's say I take out film mode because I just don't think I'm going to be using that, and I'll take out self timer because I'm not going to be using that. We can actually make this very, very clean and quick. You'll notice it doesn't scroll now. If I want to add those items back in, I can just tap the plus sign here, and let's say I want to get my self timer back. I just select it, hit again. I'm going to add back in my other shooting mode here. Oop, I think I missed. You'll see here, film mode. So I've added that in. I hit set, and I'm all done. So you'll see here I've got my ISO, my white balance, just like I had before, but now I also have my autofocus mode as well as my film mode. But I kind of want my focus mode, these things to go together, so I'm going to move auto ISO down, which I can do just by dragging. And now you'll see I think I missed that one. If I highlight, move down. So now I see I have focus mode and autofocus mode next to each other. So if I switch from MF to AF, you'll notice this screen now actually has some options. And here I can select spot focus, single point focus, multi-touch autofocus, which is kind of interesting. You just touch where you want it to focus, and you'll see the green box appear and the camera will focus for you, which is pretty nice. But I'm going to go back to my standard. I usually use single point autofocus, and I'll show you something else. You'll notice there's a arrow here. If I tap that arrow, I can select the box and move it wherever I'd like just by tapping on the screen. So it's very, very simple. I can also adjust its position by using the dial. I'm using the right hand dial here and the left hand dial there to actually change its position. If I want to reset it to the middle, just push the reset button. Set brings you back. Some of the other useful settings, of course, is ISO. And here you have a scrollable list You can select whichever one you want. Very, very simple, very quick. What I've actually done is put my ISO on my left thumb, exposure compensation on the right, because these are probably two of the most used features that I access. And here you can either click and drag and you'll see the live preview on the screen. You can also use the dial at the top, but you do have to make sure to hit the set button here. And now you'll see my exposure compensation there as well. You'll see it on the screen right there. Some of the other cool features, when we go to my camera menu, I can go to the full menu here by clicking on the little tool icon. And here I have my full scrollable list. So what you can do, even if you don't have all the options in my camera menu, you can have them still accessible at a second level, ones you just don't use that much. For instance, I never would change JPEG resolution or file format because I'm always going to shoot in DNG plus superfine JPEG, the highest quality. So I don't really ever access those. But just like this, if I had to, I can add it from there to my camera menu by clicking that plus icon, and now you'll see my camera menu I have file format. Again, to delete, very simple, just roll over the trash can and let go. That's basically it for the shooting modes. You also have these two dials up top, and if I roll it once, you'll see they highlight here on the screen. So my left hand one is ISO, my right hand one is my aperture. So you'll see if I turn the dial, you'll notice here that my aperture is increasing. And likewise, if I turn my ISO, you'll see that's changing as well. Let's say for my particular shooting style, I prefer to have this program to exposure compensation. What I can do while it's highlighted is just tap it, and here I can now program that to exposure value. And now you'll see my exposure compensation is on a thumb dial. Very, very customizable for the way that you like to shoot. And of course, I take a picture, very easy. You'll notice my playback. I have a program right now to give a quick zoom, and you can change that too by just going into auto review settings right here. Instead of zoom duration, let me just set it to 1 second. And I'll keep my histogram on. So now I take the image, you'll notice it doesn't zoom in. But let's say I want to review that. Now there is no playback button, so the T is a little different in this regard. It uses gestures. So we swipe down from the top, and that brings us into playback mode. And you'll see, obviously, a quick delete button. This is the playback menu button here, and we have an info overlay toggle as well. So I can see here all my exposure information, my time and date, my resolution, what picture it is on the memory card. I can toggle through, get a histogram, as well as a highlight and shadow warning. Right now this has actually nothing blown out and no shadows blocked up. And I can go back and get the full view here. You can zoom in the image two different ways. So you can actually, that actually scrolled through. You can pinch to zoom, like so, using two fingers, either on separate hands or the same. And then once you're in the image, just move around. Very similar to how you would on an iPhone, an iPad, or any other touch device. And that brings me back, if I pinch, back to the normal view. I can also double tap. And if I double tap on the screen, that brings me up to 100% view right where I tap. Tap again, it jumps to 200%. Tap once more, brings you back to the full view. Another way to zoom in is actually using the thumb dial. If I use the one on the right-hand side, that initiates a zoom. Again, moving around the image with touch. And I can actually scroll through different images with the left-hand dial, and it retains the same zoom mode. So see, there's two different images here, but I am actually toggling between them so I can see which one is a better picture. Maybe I caught this boat at just the right moment. and zoom back out. I can go and see his thumbnails by zooming out again. I exited playback by accident. So that is the ways in which you can play back. So let's say that I find that this image here without the boat, that's not very good. I can delete it, clicking the delete key, and I can either do a multiple selection, I can delete all, or I can just delete single. Very quick, very easy. The playback menu gives us some other options. So here we can actually do a slideshow, playing all. We can do a slideshow with just pictures, a slideshow with just videos. You can toggle your duration, same as the other controls, up to 5 seconds. You can play your favorites only. You can either turn repeat on or off. And here we can actually set favorites. So for instance, I want to set this picture as my favorite. Right now, it is now tagged as a favorite. Right there you'll see. And you can toggle between favorite or not favorite. You can do protect. You can also either toggle between the SD card or the internal memory. The camera actually comes with 16 gigabytes, so if you run out of memory on your SD card, it's easy enough to shoot to the internal. And when you wonder what you're going to do with those pictures, you can actually transfer them, either multiple selections, you can transfer all of them from the SD to the internal memory, or from the internal memory to the SD card, either way. So very, very handy. Pretty full-featured in terms of playback options. And at any time you want to get back to the shooting mode, now you are back and ready to shoot.